Chapter 8. A Cryptic Communication. "Look at this," grumbled Tim. "They've survived so far." He was peering at the postcard that had arrived in the morning mail along with several bills and a poignant little note from a grandparent who was hoping to get a glimpse of the four children before they became adults. He had thrown the rest of the mail away, but he had brought the postcard upstairs to the cobwebbed playroom. Now he was scowling at it. "Thousands died in an earthquake, but they only got bruised," he said with a groan. "We'll never be rid of them at this rate." "May I see it?" asked Jane, politely. "No, it's too distressing for you." "Could we?" the twins asked in unison. They cringed, knowing that points were deducted for speaking in unison, but Tim, distracted by the postcard, didn't notice. "Have a quick look," Tim said, and held it toward them. Barnaby A was an extremely fast reader. Although Tim whipped the postcard away from him quickly, he had been able to read it. "I don't understand the part about the coal bin," he said. "What about the coal bin?" Barnaby B asked. "I didn't read that far." "Yes, what about the coal bin?" asked Jane. "I'm very scared of the coal bin." Tim glared at her. 5-point deduction for being a scaredy cat, he announced. "I'll read the stupid postcard aloud. "Dear ones," Tim said, "though slightly bruised, we have survived quite a lovely earthquake. You may have read the headlines, 'Thousands Killed.'" "Oh my," said Jane sadly. "I suppose kittens were killed too. How sad." "Shh," Tim told her, and he continued, "And next we are off to kayak a crocodile-infested river. Such fun!" "They don't know how to kayak," Barnaby A exclaimed. "They never once have kayaked," his twin added. "Precisely," Tim said. "May I ask a question?" Jane asked timidly. Tim, still holding the postcard, nodded. "I'm wondering," Jane said, "would a crocodile eat a person in one gulp, or in chunks?" Her three brothers all thought for a minute. "Chunks," said Barnaby A. "Chunks," said Barnaby B. "Yes, large chunks," said Tim decisively, gulping down chunks for the nourishment, but quickly to avoid the taste, the same way we eat mother's meatloaf. 8, Jane pointed out. "Nanny's meatloaf is quite good." Tim glared at her briefly. "Continuing," he announced, and held up the card. "We hope the nanny is earning her salary," he read aloud. "Now, this next part," he said, "I don't understand. Please hide in the coal bin if prospective buyers come to look at the house." "What are prospective buyers?" "I'm scared of the coal bin," Jane said again. "Remember when you made me stay down there because I whined and there were rats?" I know what it means," Barnaby A said eagerly, raising his hand so that he would be allowed to speak. "Yes, we both know," his twin said. "We just saw the sign." "What sign?" asked Tim. "Look outside. It's on the window box." Tim went to the playroom window and looked down at the 2 boxes filled with begonias that were attached to the first-floor windows. "I can see there is some sort of sign," he acknowledged. "What does it say?" "For sale," the twins announced. "We're for sale?" Jane asked in surprise. "No, Dodo," Tim said. "Apparently our house is." "And it says cheap," Barnaby B added. "So," Tim mused, "while we're getting rid of them, they're getting rid of us." "Complicated," said Barnaby A. "Diabolical," said Barnaby B. "Scary," said Jane. "Despicable," said Tim. "Absolutely despicable." Chapter 9. Clever Camouflage. The woman at the door handed Tim a card that said her name and explained that she was a real estate agent. "I'll be by in an hour with a prospective buyer," she told him, "and I know your parents have explained that you children must remain out of sight while I show the house." "Remember that," she said sternly, shaking her finger. "1 hour from now, out of sight." "Oh dear," wailed Jane when he told them. "Does that mean the coal bin? I just can't bear the coal bin." Tim thought it over. "She only said out of sight. She didn't say coal bin specifically." "If only we could make ourselves invisible," Barnaby A remarked. "Yes, we have a comic called Invisible Man," his twin reminded him. "If we could just do that." "I have a better idea, actually," Tim announced. "We will camouflage ourselves." "What's that?" asked Jane. "Does it hurt?" "No, Dodo, it means we make ourselves blend in so that no one will notice us." "We have toy soldiers in camouflage outfits," Barnaby A remembered. "The cat chewed them, so they're ruined now," he added sadly. "Quiet, we don't have much time. 5 minutes have already passed." Tim looked at the other children carefully. "A," he said, "you're easy because you're wearing the sweater today." "Yes, it's Wednesday. I always wear the sweater on Wednesdays." Hold up your arms, Tim instructed him, like this. Tim demonstrated, holding each arm out and bent, as if someone were aiming a gun at him. Barnaby A. imitated him. The overly long sweater sleeves flopped over his hands. Good, said Tim, examining his pose. Now, pull the neck of the sweater up over your head. Tim said, and Barnaby A. did so. Excellent. Relax for a minute now, then get that largest wastebasket from Father's study and stand in it, in your pose. Barnaby A. did so. They all looked at him, and Tim said, Perfect. You are camouflaged as a cactus. Place yourself in a corner of the dining room, and when the doorbell rings announcing the prospective buyer, assume your pose. Choose a place by a sunny window. Cacti prefer sun. What if someone tries to water me or test my prickers? Barnaby A. asked in a muffled voice. They won't, replied Tim. I am setting up a notice that says, Stay away. This highly poisonous cactus emits toxic fumes. Might I be a cactus too? Jane asked, watching as Barnaby A., sweater sleeves dangling, went off to the dining room with his wastebasket. No, Dodo, you will be a lamp. Here, let me just look in this closet. Tim went to the hall closet and stood on tiptoe to find something on a high shelf. Good. She left it behind. Here you are, Jane. He opened a large hat box and handed Jane their mother's going-to-church hat, which was dark brown straw in the shape of a bowl. Kneel on that table there, beside the sofa. Tim directed his sister. She climbed up and knelt on the table. It hurts my knees, Jane whimpered. Tim thought it over. All right, he said. Squat and hunch. Jane squatted and hunched. Good. Here's your lampshade, Tim said. He lowered the large hat onto her head. It covered her face. I can't see, Jane said in a worried voice. Lamps don't need to see, Tim replied. When the doorbell rings, assume that pose and hold very still while the prospective buyer comes through. Jane lifted her shade lightly and peered out. What if someone tries to turn me on? She asked nervously. Good thought, Jane, Tim said. I'm going to give you 10 points today for thinking of that possibility. And I give myself 20 points, he added, for finding the solution. He went to his father's desk, used a pen and paper, and returned to the table where Jane was still kneeling, with a note in his hand. The electricity in this house is defective, and may electrocute you if you turn on a lamp, said the note that Tim had printed. He placed it by Jane's feet. When do they come through? He told her. Hold very still. Don't let that shade wobble, and make yourself as thin as possible. How much time do we have? Barnaby B. asked uneasily. I don't have a camouflage yet. I wish it had been my day for the sweater. Don't be a worrywart, B., Tim said. Come out here to the hall, stand there by the door, and hold up your arms. Barnaby B. did so, and Tim hung overcoats taken from the hall closet over his arms. There, he said, you are a coat tree. Will people fling coats over me? I might sneeze or suffocate, Barnaby B. said. No one will. I will prepare a notice that says, the furnace in this house is defective. Wear your coat. Do not hang up your coat or you will freeze. But my face shows, Barnaby B. complained. Tim took his father's felt hat, the one he wore to the bank each day, and hung it over Barnaby B.'s face. There, he said. It doesn't smell nice, Barnaby B. said in a muffled voice. That's because of the sweatband, Tim explained. All men's hats have sweatbands inside. They smell nasty. Just hold your breath and you won't notice. Now, practice being motionless, all of you, he called, so that they could hear him in the other rooms. It was silent as the children remained motionless in their poses. Tim went to the closet again. Tim, called a voice from the dining room. It was the cactus. Tim, called the coat tree from the hall. Tim, the lamp called from its table. What? Tim's voice was muffled. What are you going to be? Asked the cactus. Where will you be, Tim? Asked the lamp. What is your camouflage, Tim? Asked the coat tree. From the floor in front of the living room fireplace, Tim replied, I am wrapped in Mother's mink coat, he called, his voice still muffled by the fur. I am camouflaged as a fur rug. What if someone steps on you, Tim? The lamp asked in a worried voice. I would be very brave and very silent and completely immobile, no matter how bad the pain, he replied. However, it is unlikely. I have set up a notice that says, the floor under this rug is rotten. If you step on this rug, you will fall into the basement and be desperately injured. Now hush. I hear someone on the front steps. The camouflaged Willoughbys all fell silent. They heard the front door open and the voice of the woman Tim had met an hour before. She was speaking now to the prospective buyer. This is a beautifully decorated home, she said. Such good taste. Please come in and hang up your coat. I'll show you around.